know better, but police say instead a Comac, Long Island man packed up his van with a bunch of kids, went out last night and raised hell, causing a Halloween mess. Channel 2's David Diaz has that story.
His wife says Joseph Lorenzano was just helping his own and neighbors' kids celebrate Halloween. Police say the father of 5 organized what amounted to be a posse of kids whom he drove around in his pickup truck committing Halloween mischief in the Hauppauge area of Long Island. Their tools, cans of shaving cream, dozens upon dozens of eggs, and this BB gun.
Not only did this subject have the children engage in these activities, but he put the children at risk of becoming targets of groups that might want to retaliate against Mr. Lorenzano and what he was doing.
As we examine the trail allegedly left behind by Lorenzano and as many as 19 kids at a time, we didn't see any signs of damage from the BB gun, but the streets were littered with empty shaving cream cans and the splatter of eggs, which were also evident on several cars and all along the front of this home.
I heard a cracking in here. Actually, there's somebody cracking eggs in my front door. Then I come down, I see they have a lot of kids in back of the truck. Then they passed by. That was it.
Police say the man made not just one of these attacking forays, but several of them. They say he would go back to the house after he'd exhausted his supply, reload with shaving cream, more eggs, more BBs, and then come back out again. Outside Lorenzano's home, we saw more shaving cream cans and the residue of broken eggs. From inside the home, his wife denied her husband would have done what police claim.
35-year-old man who has 5 kids, he wouldn't really go out mischief playing on Halloween.
When arrested, Lorenzano had 12 children in his truck, ages 11 to 15, including his 11-year-old daughter. He's been charged with endangering the welfare of a child. In Hauppauge, David Diaz, Channel 2 News.
Police say they may charge Lorenzano with more crimes if other people come forward with complaints. Halloween turned deadly nearly.
Kids out on a Halloween joyride, but to their victims and to police, it was a ride of terror and a crime. And police say the leader of the pack was no kid. Long Island reporter Carolyn Gussoff has the story from Hauppauge.
If it's a Halloween prank, police aren't laughing. Neither are Hauppauge residents, whose homes and children were pelted with eggs, shaving cream, and BB gun fire last night. Police say the chief mischief maker is a little old for trick-or-treating, a 35-year-old Comac man who's accused of chauffeuring local kids for hours as they terrorized the neighborhood.
I think he's an idiot. I don't think he should have been here. If he wants to do this damage, do it in your own neighborhood.
I guess he's looking for fun, but he's too old for that.
As far as good, clean fun, Mr. Lorenzano put several children, lots of children, ranging ages from 11 to 15, in harm's way.
Police prepare for mayhem on Halloween, but last night was a first. 35-year-old Joseph Lorenzano allegedly drove a mischief mobile of sorts, loading up his pickup truck with more than a dozen kids and taking them on mischief runs that had been planned for weeks.
Police say he actually operated in shifts, letting the kids take turns riding in the truck, throwing eggs, and shooting BB guns at anyone who passed by. And when he ran out of ammunition, police say he went home to reload.
His ammo included BB gun pellets, 7 cans of shaving cream, and dozens of eggs.
I have no comment, okay? We contacted a lawyer. This is really getting out of hand. It's really getting crazy.
Lorenzano is out on bail, not talking to us. Police say he didn't tell them what he was thinking either, but they sent him home with an appearance ticket in his goodie bag, charged with endangering the welfare of a child. Carolyn Gussoff, News Channel 4.
Police are asking anyone who was injured or whose property was damaged to contact them. No one knows who he is or where.
Allegedly robbing a video store. Cops say 44-year-old Carmen Mancusi had a snake with him, a 4-foot boa constrictor. Police say he looted the store's cash register and then took the clerk's wallet. Mancusi was arrested near the video store when he allegedly tried to steal someone's car. He was still holding the snake.
Strong fumes forced the evacuation of students.
Hijinks got out of hand in Hauppauge, Long Island. According to police, 35-year-old Joseph Lorenzano and as many as 19 of the neighborhood kids spent Halloween night cruising around in Lorenzano's pickup truck, throwing eggs, shooting BB guns, and spraying shaving cream at passersby. Police caught them in the act. The kids, who ranged in age from 11 to 15, were all released into the custody of their parents. Lorenzano was charged with endangering the welfare of children, and his pickup truck was seized.
Now, what on Long Island is attracting a lot of attention because of the challenger, Carolyn McCarthy. You see her all over the place. We're trying to find the man who holds the seat right now. Una Kwan did.
In the days before the election, Carolyn McCarthy has been a whirlwind. Today, she got a big hand from the co-chair of the Congressional Caucus on Women's Issues.
I'm very pleased to be here to clarify the record on Dan Friesa. He has been AWOL on the war against breast cancer.
Seems he's been AWOL from the campaign as well.
His With only 4 days left to go before the election, the congressman remains
When we did pay a visit to his
candidate.
congressional office in Mineola, an aide kicked us out.
Hi, we're with Channel 5. We'd like to know where Congressman Friesa is and why he isn't making himself available to the media.
You'll have to ask him that.
We're trying to.
Well, when you find him, ask him.
We're trying to find him, and nobody from your office.
Excuse me, miss, but you don't have any permission to come in here.
This is an office of an elected representative of the United States Congress.
He's not here. You're here to see him. He is not here.
Can you tell me where he is?
By contrast, McCarthy's campaign has captured the nation's attention. What might have started as sympathy and interest for the housewife who lost her husband and almost her son in the Long Island Railroad massacre has swelled into a grassroots movement. Ironically, it was a vote by the freshman from the 4th Congressional District that prompted her to run.
The reason I got into this fight was because his stance against the assault weapons bill, and he still doesn't get it.
On Long Island, Una Kwan, Fox News.
Well, we're told that Congressman Friesa is running a big mail campaign.
And a Catholic Mass was celebrated at an unusual location in Westbury, right outside a cemetery. The church had planned to have its All Saints' Day ceremony in an open lot, but parishioners say town and fire officials gave them the boot at the last minute. Their permit to hold the event had been revoked. The issue will now have to be settled in court.
A dispute between the Catholic Church and town officials on Long Island was temporarily suspended in honor of All Souls Day. More than 200 parishioners gathered under a tent on the grounds of the Holy Rood Cemetery in Westbury. This comes one day after Old Westbury town officials revoked the church's permit to hold Mass at a nearby farm. Church officials say they obtained all the proper permits from the town, but was later refused permission to hold the ceremony. But town officials say they didn't have a permit to put up a tent on that property.
As if New York motorists
fall down an elevator shaft on Long Island. 20-year-old Anthony Napolitano entered a building last night with a 13-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy. Police say the three were smoking and drinking on the building's top landing when Napolitano went up to the roof. They say he accidentally plunged through a skylight above the elevator shaft and was pronounced dead at the scene. Police in Brooklyn are investigating.
Turncoat, Carolyn McCarthy is challenging Republican incumbent Dan Friesa. McCarthy's a former Republican who decided to run on the Democratic ticket when Friesa voted to appeal the assault weapons ban. McCarthy's husband was killed and her son injured in the Long Island Railroad massacre 3 years ago.
Now, if you...
A 20-year-old man has been killed on Long Island when he accidentally fell 60 feet down an elevator shaft. It happened in Lynbrook. Police say the victim was drinking beer with 2 other people on the building's top landing. He went to the roof, then fell through a skylight into the elevator shaft.
19-year-old Omari Rosero of Roosevelt is being held on Long Island tonight. He is charged with killing his pregnant girlfriend. The victim was found stabbed to death Sunday night in Hempstead. Police say they recovered a 12-inch knife believed to be the murder weapon. No motive was given.
Peep shows, topless dancers, X-rated sex shops.
Hopes to unseat Republican Congressman Dan Friesa. Polly Kreisman is live at McCarthy headquarters in Garden City. Polly?
Brenda, I'm here at Adelphi University in Garden City, smack in the middle of one of the most staunchly Republican congressional districts in the country, where a Democrat, a political neophyte, a housewife, a former registered nurse appears likely to win this seat. Now, this is also one of the most closely watched races in the country for another reason, the remarkable story of the candidate herself.
Okay. With her vote, Carolyn McCarthy today put the finishing touches on one of the most remarkable congressional races in the country, her own. She was thrown violently into the public eye the night of December 7th, 1993, after the Long Island Railroad massacre. Her husband, Dennis McCarthy, died instantly in the shooting. Her son, Kevin, barely survived being shot in the head. A political novice announcement in May to run as a Democrat from Nassau County. She is running against freshman incumbent Dan Friesa, who voted to repeal the federal assault weapons ban. Friesa has called McCarthy a one-issue candidate.
McCarthy's response to that is she was a one-issue candidate the day that her political opponent voted to repeal the assault weapons ban. Now she says she has many issues. Reporting live from Garden City, Long Island at McCarthy headquarters, I'm Polly Kreisman. Back to you, Reg.
Polly, thank you very much. In time now for a guess you might...
Heidi, things are really heating up here at Adelphi University. Hundreds of supporters are standing by, waiting to hear Carolyn McCarthy make a victory speech. McCarthy predicted this was going to be a very close race, but the Democratic Party in Nassau County has already declared her a winner. Earlier today, we caught up with Mrs. McCarthy as she cast her vote in Mineola. Her opponent, Congressman Daniel Friesa, has been keeping a very low profile in what could be one of Long Island's most hotly contested races. Her journey began on December 7, 1993, when Carolyn McCarthy became a public symbol, the victim of a terrible tragedy that struck her family and many others. After losing her husband and nearly losing her son in the Long Island Railroad massacre, McCarthy picked up the pieces and put together a grassroots campaign. Her platform was built on gun control and issues such as breast cancer, education, and lower taxes, surprising all, including Republicans who've had a stronghold on Nassau County for decades. The former nurse and homemaker is in a close race with Republican incumbent Congressman Daniel Friesa. Contrary to McCarthy, Friesa ran a low-profile campaign, even upsetting his own party, though he did spend the last 2 weeks launching a mailing and advertising blitz. There are some other races we should be telling you about in the second.
Nancy, Suffolk County Police say that the three women spent Sunday and Monday carrying out one holdup after another, and investigators believe that they were ready to rob again when they were caught. Now all three have past felony records, but cops say this time they could be put away for a long time. The three women were taken into custody yesterday after Suffolk County cops tracked them down through descriptions given by their alleged victims. Investigators say the trio was desperate for drug money.
They were using the money they obtained to buy crack and smoke crack. In fact, in some instances, they had smoked crack right up until the time they went into the store to rob them.
Cops say two of the women acted as a team while the third was on her own, but all three were friends with a common cause. Investigators say that the two women who worked together used a tire-changing tool hidden up their sleeves as a fake gun.
About how much did they get over those 2 days?
Probably in the neighborhood of $1,000.
$1,000.
All spent on crack.
Over Sunday and Monday, the three are accused of having hit 4 gas stations, 1 flower shop, and a stationery store. They were caught at the location of their presumed supplier.
They were at a drug location, and I believe they were going there to buy more drugs. And that was 2. And then the second one was nabbed on her way back from the store to go to the same drug location.
The three are identified as 34-year-old Julianne Gibson, 25-year-old Lorianne Zollinger, and 32-year-old Jacqueline Calderon. Now, they're all being arraigned today on multiple counts of first-degree robbery.
Police have arrested 3 women in connection with a crime spree. Suffolk County Police say Julianne Gibson and Jacqueline Calderon, both of Brentwood, and Lorianne Zollinger of Bayshore, went on a crime spree in which they allegedly robbed 6 businesses in 2 days. Police got a lead on the 3 after a witness spotted a partial license plate on the getaway car.
In Connecticut, a jury is deciding the fate of...
Well, call them Thelma and Louise +1. Police say they busted a trio of female bandits behind a crime spree in Bayshore, Brentwood, and West Islip. Long Island correspondent Jennifer McLogan has more on how the women were nabbed.
Police say their crime spree lasted 48 hours, robbing frightened victims at 6 Suffolk County businesses. The 3 female friends from Brentwood disguised a tire iron to look like a shotgun.
It would slide it under a sleeve, somewhat like this, and hold that like that, and then cover it up with a sweatshirt or a T-shirt of some sort. And they would say that I'm going to blow your brains out if you don't give me all your money.
The women, Lorianne Zollinger, Jacqueline Calderon, and Julianne Gibson, who has a 4-year-old child at home, were reportedly so desperate for crack, they sped from location to location demanding money. A cleaner's, a balloon store, a stationery shop, and 3 gasoline stations. Their M.O. the same each time.
He stole me 2 girls. One showed me this, give me money, his kids.
Orhan says the women grabbed $160 and took off. Next stop, the USA gas station in Bayshore.
She had a white T-shirt, and she hold her in hand like this,
and she say, this is, you know, hold up, give me all your money.
The women told Jimmy to empty to a bag. The only reason this holdup was foiled and Jimmy wasn't hurt is because he said he told them an undercover cop was watching from across the street. He said the women believed him, squealed tires, and made their getaway. They were caught because Jimmy got a partial license plate number.
It's so frightening, but we were robbed by a woman at home.
In fact, police say violent female crime is on the rise, due especially to drugs.
This had nothing to do with bonding. They were just doing it for drugs. I mean, the pattern was to go out. These were friends. They got together, and they committed robberies.
In this case, police say the female robbers were so strong they struggled with their victims for money. On Long Island, Jennifer McLogan, Channel 2 News.
Jennifer tells us all three women are spending the night.
Because they came up with a novel but illegal way to collect on winning instant lottery tickets. They ran a scam that put them in the money but left some businesses holding the bag. What they did, how they were caught, N.J. Burkett live in Bohemia, or N.J. Burkett reports from Bohemia.
Detectives say they picked through the trash in virtually every dumpster, in every shopping center in Suffolk County. Investigators say they were looking for discarded winning scratch-off lotto tickets and piecing them together. Lieutenant Dennis Kane is with the Suffolk County Police.
It made the ticket look like it was never torn apart, like it was still a whole one piece.
Investigators say the reconstruction was so good, the recycled tickets went through lotto redemption machines and unwitting store owners paid out the winnings. The first of 4 suspects was arrested this morning. Police say they managed to recycle $25,000 worth of tickets in just 3 months.
All 4 of them were unemployed, and we know for a fact that all 4 of them told us through the investigation that they were getting the money in order to feed themselves, pay their rent, and support their drug habit.
Investigators say the thieves were desperate. People we spoke with had another word.
Very clever person.
Salesmen were robbed and kidnapped at gunpoint on Long Island. It happened this morning as they were loading merchandise at the Clear Meadow shopping mall. Police say 3 or 4 men approached their van, stole about $250,000 in jewelry. The victims were then tied up and forced into the back of the van. The robbers drove it to Levittown and transferred the stolen goods to another car. The victims were left there. They managed to free themselves and then call police. The world's most
left the bus unattended. A couple of jewelry salesmen from out of state had a horrible experience in New York. They were robbed as they were loading their van outside Service Merchandise in East Meadow, Long Island. But instead of taking off, the thieves tied the 2 of them up, threw them into the car, and drove around. They finally let them go in Levittown. The thugs got away with $250,000 worth of jewels. The cops are looking for 3 to 4 Latino men.
Police in Suffolk County arrested 2 married couples for cashing in on their own lotto ticket scam. They're charged with fraud. Police say they'd go through the garbage dumpsters of stores like this one in Bohemia and find instant lottery tickets that had already been redeemed for cash. Then they'd cash them in a second time. The scheme cost store owners over $25,000. Thelma, Louise, and Louise, or Thelma and Louise, meet the gang that went on a 2-day crime spree.
And is this any...
Thelma and Louise, only this one's a threesome. Suffolk County Police arrested Julianne Gibson, Lorraine Zollinger, and Jacqueline Calderon for going on a 2-day crime spree. Police say they used Gibson's car to rob gas stations and stores in Brentwood and Bayshore so they could buy crack cocaine. And they made a tool look like a gun. All 3 are charged with robbery. And this California...
Closer to home, police in the Bronx are searching for a man who is a suspect in a Whitewater affair in the wake of the president's re-election. He is calling off his probe by the Senate Banking Committee.
I think the American people want to see us do our job. And if indeed there have been violations of the law, that will be a matter that falls within the purview of the Attorney General and/or special prosecutors.
Kenneth Starr is the independent counsel looking into Whitewater. Tomatoes.
And in last night's election itself, New Yorkers tossed out just 1 incumbent from the state's 31-member House delegation. And now the replacement for that incumbent, Carolyn McCarthy, is heading off to Congress. Ms. McCarthy unseated Republican Dan Friesa, first-term congressman from the 4th District on Long Island. Today, from first light till well into the evening rush hour, Ms. McCarthy was out thanking voters who had given her an overwhelming victory yesterday.
Bob Torres. A new era in politics as a Long Island mom goes to Congress. Dick Brennan is live on Long Island with this incredible story. Dick?
Well, yes, Brenda, it is an incredible story. This story began a few years ago on the Long Island Railroad. It began in tragedy, but it has become a triumph. Mrs. McCarthy is going to Washington.
It was great. It was so exciting.
Carol Neary has been Carolyn McCarthy's friend for 32 years.
She's warm, genuine, honest, funny, good friend, truthful, pretty, and I'm not prejudiced.
Congratulations on your win. Thank you so much. Lots of luck in the future.
Today, it seemed everyone had kind words for Mrs. McCarthy. She greeted voters at the Mineola train station.
I have really good friends. I'm going to keep my feet on the ground. I'm going to represent the district. I'm going to do the best I can for Long Island, and hopefully I'll stay the same person I am. That's who I like.
It all began 3 years ago on the 533 out of New York. Carolyn McCarthy's husband, Dennis, was shot dead along with 5 other people. Her son was critically injured. It was that shooting that inspired her crusade against guns that's led her all the way to Washington. John Pennsylvania remembers that tragic night.
Scary. I was in this car, and all hell broke loose, chaos and everything. It was a shame, but hope nothing like that ever happens again.
Pennsylvania hopes Mrs. McCarthy will continue her fight against guns. Carrie Troy is Carolyn McCarthy's neighbor. She just can't believe how giving Mrs. McCarthy is.
Even when she was going through all of that with Dennis and Kevin, she used to come over and take care of my mother. It was unbelievable.
Today, Mrs. McCarthy and future colleagues Peter King and Gary Ackerman discussed the important things, like where to eat in Washington.
Forget about the Dublin. We got some great Chinese restaurants as well.
Ben's Kosher Deli. Then we're going to go to a good Irish bar. That's where we're
I like both. I'm compromising already.
By the way, it's not your television. You're seeing me through the raindrops. Now, Carolyn McCarthy, as you can see, is learning quickly. She'll learn a little bit more next week when she goes to Washington for freshman orientation. But I suspect she'll be teaching them a thing or two. Reporting live from Mineola, Dick Brennan, UPN 9 News. Brenda?
Thanks, Dick. Police on Long Island say they've busted 3 brazen female bandits. Cops say one of the suspects supplied the car and the other 2 actually carried out the series of robberies in the Bay Shore area. The suspects allegedly threatened merchants with a tool used for jacking up a car, and that was disguised as a gun.
Would stick it up their sleeve somewhat in this manner and simulate that it was a barrel, cover it with like a T-shirt or another garment.
Cops say the women bought crack cocaine with the money they ripped off. They were busted after one of the robbery victims gave police part of the getaway car's license plate number.
Now some other local stories making some...
Suffolk County cops say they've hit the jackpot. They've busted a bizarre lottery scam. Cops say winning instant lottery tickets were cashed a second time after the real winner had already been paid off. Cops were tipped off about the scheme by a lottery agent in Bohemia who had been ripped off for $1,500. The suspects allegedly went through a store's garbage looking for used tickets, and then they did some creative work on them.
The tickets were torn in half, and the people that got them somehow found a way to put the tickets back together and have them pass through the machine.
Police say the cashed tickets were worth just $1 or $2 apiece, but cops say they added up to $25,000.
Ferrara Girls is free on bond this morning. William Osterer is charged with abusing the girls about 3 years ago, but police only received a complaint against him last month. He is charged with 2 counts of sexual abuse.
Each count relates to his conduct in regard to, in one case, an 8-year-old girl, another case, a 9-year-old girl, and the alleged incidents are alleged to have happened in his residence in Baldwin.
The investigation is now expanding to see if there are more victims.
The Episcopal Church is...
The Jets back in practice after a bye week and their only victory in 9 games. You know, beating the Cardinals gives the Jets a ray of hope for the rest of the schedule, starting with the Patriots on Sunday.
If you can just beat some of these teams that have the opportunity to go to the playoffs that we lost to earlier in the first part of the year, then I think it makes us feel a whole lot better.
This is a big challenge for us. These are all good football teams that are right in the thick of the hunt, and our motivation is to win and to continue winning.
This was a somber day for intercollegiate.
Give us any further details. Sonia Bonilla was found dead by a man described as her boyfriend, but an autopsy is still pending.
And the police on Long Island need your help in finding a man who was passing counterfeit money. He was caught on surveillance tape at this laundromat in Nassau County. He passes the counterfeit cash through the money changer. He's described as a black man in his late 20s, about 6 feet tall, braided hair down to his shoulders. He was seen driving away in a small blue car. Any info at all on this guy, call 1-800-220-TIPS. There's a reward of $1,000, real money. Hey, while we're talking real money, giving the president one less thing to worry about. He's not going to renew a Senate investigation into the Whitewater scandal.
I think if we get into this business of looking like we're out to fish, to bring up something to embarrass the president, I don't think that's good for the country. I don't think it'll be good politically for anyone. And I think the people are expecting us to do our job. So let the Justice Department and the special prosecutors do their job. We'll all be a lot better off for it.
Well, the president still has a lot to be concerned about. The Senate Majority Leader has promised to look into all those foreign contributions to the Clinton.
A Long Island man is facing serious sex charges. Cops in Mineola charged 45-year-old William Osterer with sexually abusing two 9-year-old girls. Police say the incidents happened in Baldwin in 1993 and 1994.
Delivery cab driver was shot in Clinton's big victory. Senator Al D'Amato has made an about-face on Whitewater. D'Amato is ending the Senate Whitewater investigations left to the independent counsel. New York's Republican senator chaired the hearings into Clinton's ties to the failed savings and loan.
It seems to me that we should leave that in the hands of the special prosecutor and not be attempting to substitute our judgment, whether it be the Senate Banking Committee or any other, for the work that the prosecutor has to do.
D'Amato's Senate investigation costs taxpayers some $1.3 million.
Retiring TV newsman David Brink.
Cops are investigating a brutal murder in Bayshore, Long Island. A 25-year-old woman was found stabbed to death in her bedroom, and police say she may have been sexually assaulted. The victim was discovered by her boyfriend, who shares the same apartment. Police say he is not a suspect.
Tragedy on a Long Island highway. 3 people were killed in a 4-car crash on the Northern State Parkway in Westbury. Police say the 3 victims were passengers in the same car. They say the woman driving the car lost control. She hit one car, then smashed into a few barriers before hitting 2 more cars. The driver suffered head and neck injuries.
A young Brooklyn mother faces criminal.
Out on Long Island, cops say the driver of this car was broadsided by another car that ran a red light. Carl Mazeskoritz was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the other car, Robert Riley, was taken to University Medical Center at Stony Brook. No charges have been filed.
Cops in Suffolk County have arrested a man for killing a Bayshore woman. The evidence, his finger. Cops say Elmo Cruz allegedly strangled Sonia Bonilla at her home in Bayshore. Police found a bit-off finger at the murder scene. When they found Cruz, he was missing part of the finger. He's been charged with second-degree murder. In Queens,
and police say this man is responsible for that brutal murder in Bayshore, Long Island we first told you about late last night. 50-year-old Elmo Cruz turned himself in and is now under arrest. He is charged with murdering a 25-year-old woman in her apartment after he allegedly tried to rape her. And the man who cops say
at the scene. A Central Islip man is under arrest tonight for the attempted rape and murder of a Bayshore woman. 50-year-old Elmo Cruz turned himself in for those crimes last night with a part of his little finger missing. Police say they found a severed bit of a finger at the crime scene.
Now the latest on Frank Sinatra.
Islip man is facing charges of murder and attempted rape in the strangulation death of a woman in Bayshore, Long Island, after he was caught red-handed. Literally. Police say 50-year-old Elmo Cruz turned himself into authorities. 24-year-old Sonia Bonilla was found strangled in her home on California Avenue. Police say a fingertip was found at the crime scene, leading them to believe the victim bit off part of the assailant's finger, trying to fight him off. Authorities say Cruz was missing the tip of his right pinky.
His body was found off the Belt Park.
Accused of buying stolen computer chips. They were arrested at a computer store they own in Hicksville. The men allegedly bought $200,000 worth of stolen IBM chips in overseas transactions.
Railroad, 308 of them, and they cannot agree. The railroad says the gates are safe, but an outside consultant says you cross at your own risk. Beyond that, the consultant says the LIRR's corporate culture does not emphasize safety. NJ Burkett now live in Farmingdale. NJ?
Bill, good evening. It was a scathing report. The conclusion, simply put, this is no way to run a railroad. Tonight, the president of the LIRR is promising to make changes.
There are more than 300 railroad crossings on the LIRR. Every day, drivers and speeding commuter trains are separated by mechanical gates. Gates that motorists no longer trust.
How much confidence do you have as a driver that when the gates are up, it's safe to cross?
Not much, I'll tell you, because it's crazy. There's so much going on, you never know what's going to happen. So, not too much.
I look twice, always look, no matter what.
If Long Islanders are crossing their fingers when they cross the railroad tracks, it's not surprising. Over the past several years, gates have failed a number of times, sometimes halfway down, sometimes completely down, and perhaps most frighteningly, completely up. In the face of public fears, the independent study. The lengthy report found, quote, distrust and friction among departments, substandard work on the railroad's vast signal network, and investigations that were not carried through, end quote. Overall, the year-long study uncovered, quote, serious deficiencies, some of which contribute to an infrastructure that is not in a state of good repair, end quote. This afternoon, the president of the Long Island Railroad did not deny the problems.
We need to deal with those things and deal with them somewhat expeditiously, and while they do not constitute unsafe conditions at this point, if allowed to continue for a long period of time, they would result in unsafe conditions.
And tonight, the president of the Long Island Railroad Commuters Council, the railroad watchdog group, says he is hoping that the railroad uses these findings, in his words, constructively. Live tonight, Farmingdale, Long Island, NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, NJ, very much.
Game that sent 2 kids from Long Island to the hospital tonight. Police say the 11-year-old boys were playing with a gas can when it exploded. The garage in their home caught on fire. The boys are in the hospital with serious burns. One is in critical condition.
Well, the judge says they will have to do Alex Kelly's information superhighway right to these guys' front door. Sajjad Jaffer and Fayez Duji. They're charged with having stolen property. Police found $200,000 worth of stolen computer chips at their computer company in Hicksville. They'd been stolen from IBM. Well, the 76ers are up the turnpike.
Breaking news at this hour. 2 young boys on Long Island have been rushed to the hospital. Both are 11 years old. They were playing in a garage in Lindenhurst, Suffolk County. They were playing with some sort of gas can. It exploded. One of the kids was engulfed in flames. The other was also burned. One was rushed by helicopter to the hospital. He is in critical condition. The other is in serious condition. Tonight, the arson squad is investigating. If we get any more details, we will bring them to you as we get them.
A transit
with possession of $200,000 worth of stolen computer chips. The men own a computer store in Hicksville. Police say the suspects got the chips as part of a deal that began in Japan and Scotland.
Guilty was the verdict today in the so-called...
A gas explosion in the garage of this Lindenhurst home injured 2 11-year-old boys late this afternoon. One is in critical condition at Nassau County Medical Center with 2nd and 3rd degree burns over 60% of his body. Police are still investigating the cause of the explosion.
Tonight, a tragedy on the roads of Long Island. 3 young people killed in a horrible car wreck on the Northern State Parkway overnight. NJ Burkett is live in Valley Stream where the investigation is unfolding this noon. NJ?
That's right, Rob. The State Police Barracks, Valley Stream, Long Island. The investigation, as you said, is being headed up here. What we know so far is that 3 people have been killed. 5 others have been injured after a terrifying crash on the Northern State Parkway.
The crash happened at 10:30 last night. 3 passengers, all in the same car, were killed. Investigators say they died in a heap of twisted metal that was once a 1990 Mercury Cougar. Amid the fog and the floodlights last night, only the driver of that car survived. The Cougar was headed west on the Northern State Parkway, returning to New York City on a wet, slippery road. Somehow, it sideswiped another car, then skidded sideways across the highway like a hockey puck, crashing across the wooden median into oncoming eastbound traffic. Within seconds, 2 cars struck the Cougar. The drivers of those cars and their passengers were all injured and taken to several area hospitals.
Now, no charges have been filed so far. Investigators are telling us alcohol is not believed so far to have been a factor in this crash. The 3 people who died are from Queens and Staten Island. They range in age from 19 to 24 years old. The driver of the Cougars identified as 25-year-old Olga Pineda from Brooklyn. We are told she is in satisfactory condition with a head injury at the Nassau County Medical Center. That's the latest now from Valley Stream, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, NJ. The 4th day of Bayshore woman is underway tonight. Suffolk County police say the body of 25-year-old Sonia Bonilla was discovered in her apartment by her boyfriend this morning. They are not saying how she was killed.
Jury deliberations are under.
Dog lady is now under arrest. Police have been looking for her since the discovery of a horror house where dozens of dogs lived in misery and filth. Drew Scott is now at the scene in Smithtown. Right now, Drew.
John and Michelle, police and animal control officers can't believe this story, and some of the video that we have is quite disturbing, especially if you love animals. The police nicknamed 42-year-old Janice Vignola the dog lady. She was arrested last night at Suffolk County's 4th Precinct and didn't want to be on camera, and no wonder. Neighbors have been complaining for months of a terrible odor emanating from her house on Lilac Lane. ASPCA officers found 33 malnourished dogs inside, no food, no water, and living in their own feces. All of the dogs were removed 3 weeks ago, and last night the dog lady was issued an appearance ticket for January 15th. She's charged with extreme cruelty to animals and faces up to a $1,000 fine, possibly a jail term if convicted. Police are still looking for her accomplice, 43-year-old Ray Niermeyer of Kings Park. Authorities believe they may have been breeding dogs illegally and without permits. Now, we have some good news to report to you today. Of those 33 dogs that were removed 3 weeks ago, 10 have been adopted out. 23 are still awaiting adoption, but none of the dogs had to be put to sleep, and that's good news. Reporting live from Smithtown, back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Drew. Suffolk officials are
in trouble, charged with cruelty to animals. Fox 5's Una Kwan is live in Hauppauge. She picks up the rest of this story. Una.
Mario, it was a house of horrors for the 33 dogs found inside. They hadn't been fed, and they'd been forced to live in their own excrement for weeks. Police say Janice Vignola could face up to a year in jail for what she did. The dogs were found at her home on Lilac Lane in Smithtown. The pathetic creatures had been prisoners inside the house, not properly fed, not properly exercised, many suffering from sickness and sores when the ASPCA found them and took them in after a 3-week investigation. They also found cages and a house full of filth, not fit even for animals. Neighbors say they had a sense that something bizarre was going on.
Yeah, constantly heard barking and constantly heard them whining and howling. They were in all the rooms because when anybody would go by, they'd be jumping up at the windows and they'd be, you just would hear them constantly barking and howling and at all hours of the day and night.
They found 33 dogs over there. What do you think of that?
Oh, I think it's horrible. The people, I never saw the people. Nobody had seen the people. Nobody saw them bringing the dogs in either. They were very odd people.
Police are looking for an accomplice, Raymond Niermeyer of Kings Park, for his part in the cruelty to animals. There is some good news coming out of all this. None of those 33 dogs have had to be euthanized. In fact, 10 have already been adopted, the 23 others up for adoption at the Smithtown Animal Shelter. I'm Una Kwan live in Hauppauge. Back to you.
Hopefully now they'll get a good home. Okay, Una, thank you very much.
This news. Tonight, a double shooting on Long Island. The gunman gets away. A gunman police say was in their custody only 24 hours ago. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Vuittel. They're searching for a gunman on Long Island tonight. A gunman who shot a woman and a man inside a house in Rockville Center. The gunman got away, but police believe they know who he is. NJ Burkett is live in Rockville Center with the latest on the search. NJ, good evening.
Good evening, Bill. There is a dragnet tonight across Nassau County on the ground and in the air. Police are searching at this hour for a 32-year-old man who, as you said, was just released from jail. Investigators now believe he came here to the home of his former girlfriend with a .22 caliber rifle.
Police were on the scene in a matter of minutes, but the damage had been done. The suspect had already escaped. Detectives say he left behind 2 young victims, his former girlfriend shot in the face as she answered the door, and a man described by police as her new boyfriend, shot in the head and the buttocks. This woman is a realtor who works 2 doors down.
Police were here. They came from all sides of the street, lots of police cars, 2 ambulances. I saw a young girl being carried out on a chair. She evidently was very hurt. She was holding her head. I found out later she was shot. That's all I know.
The suspect escaped in his ex-girlfriend's 1993 red sports car, which was found abandoned just 1 block from the crime scene. Detectives identified the gunman as 32-year-old Kyriakos Papaleontiou. Prosecutors say he has a lengthy arrest record that includes possession of a controlled substance, criminal impersonation, driving without a license, reckless driving, and 2 arrests for driving while intoxicated. And on September 20th, he was sentenced to 45 days in jail for unspecified traffic violations. Detectives moved through the neighborhood within the hour.
I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything. I just happened to open the door to go pick up my kids from school, and I just saw all the flashing lights. I didn't hear a thing. Very quiet, which makes things very scary.
The male victim is an unidentified man in his 30s, listed in critical condition at this hour. The ex-girlfriend who lives in this home is identified as 31-year-old Tammy Thatcher, also listed in critical condition. And sources tell Eyewitness News tonight that she was not only shot in the face, but she was also apparently badly beaten with the butt of the rifle. Once again, the suspect remains at large at this hour. Live tonight, Rockville Center, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
NJ, thank you very much. And this was a frightening day for students at
a terrible scene at a house in Smithtown where 33 dogs were abandoned. They were not being fed, and officials said conditions were filthy. The owner of the house, 42-year-old Janice Vignola, is charged with cruelty to animals. She did not live at the house. The ASPCA took the malnourished dogs away.
Here in New York City,
for a gunman, a man that police say just got out of jail. The suspect was apparently released from jail just yesterday. Police say he went to his ex-girlfriend's house in Rockville Center today and shot her and her new boy. Shooting victims are in critical condition.
In trouble. The police were here. They came from all sides of the street, lots of police cars, 2 ambulances. I saw a young girl being carried out on a chair. She evidently was very hurt. She was holding her head. I found out later she was shot. That's all I know.
Police identify the suspect as 32-year-old Kyriakos Papaleontiou. He has a long criminal record and was released from jail after serving 45 days for traffic violations. 2 teenagers from New Jersey are under arrest tonight.
Out of jail for even a day when he landed in the biggest trouble of his life. He's wanted for shooting his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. It happened in Rockville Center, and that's where Bob O'Brien is now. Bob.
Rosanna, police throughout Nassau and Suffolk counties and New York City, too, are on the alert tonight. They are looking for a man who shot his ex-girlfriend and her current lover. Shortly after 2 this afternoon, the sound of gunfire came from the basement apartment of this house on Monroe Street in Rockville Center. According to police, the gunman, 32-year-old Kyriakos Papaleontiou of Elmont, Long Island, had just been released from the Nassau County Jail after serving 90 days for disorderly conduct and motor vehicle violations. Less than 24 hours after getting out of jail, police say Papaleontiou entered this house owned by 31-year-old Tammy Thatcher's parents, went down to Tammy's basement apartment where he found her with her boyfriend, 35-year-old Robert Laval of Wantagh. There was a brief argument, and then the shooting started.
He shot the male twice, once in the head, once in the back. He shot the female in the face. Apparently got distracted. She was able to flee upstairs to the kitchen where she attempted to call the police and actually was successful. He followed her up there. May have shot her a second time, we're not sure. Definitely pistol whipped her and further assaulted her.
No sexual assault, you know?
No sexual assault.
Detectives say immediately after the shooting, Papaleontiou drove Tammy Thatcher's red Mazda about a block away, left the car in a municipal parking lot, and is still at large. Robert Laval is in critical condition in South Nassau Hospital. Tammy Thatcher is in stable condition in Mercy Hospital in Rockville Center. Detectives have briefly interviewed Tammy Thatcher, but she is heavily sedated. Homicide cops are hoping that by tomorrow, Ms. Thatcher will be able to tell them more about what happened and more about that fugitive gunman they are seeking. In Rockville Center, Long Island, Bob O'Brien, Fox News. Rosanna, back to you.
Thank you, Bob.
Well, a sick prank at a junior high.
Tonight on Long Island, it's a horrible story. A man got out of jail early this morning. He allegedly marched over to his ex-girlfriend's home, and cops say he pulled a gun on her and her new boyfriend. Dick Brennan is live in Rockville Center with the late details. Dick?
Well, Sean, it's a bloody scene inside this home on Monroe Street in Rockville Center. Apparently, a man with a gun and a grudge went wild, started shooting, and tonight sources tell UPN 9 News police may be close to an arrest. An hysterical call to 911 brought police to this house on Monroe Street this afternoon in Rockville Center. 2 people shot. Police say it seemed to be some kind of love triangle. The suspect, identified as Kyriakos Pamplotio, had just been released from jail this morning. He allegedly showed up here with a pistol, only to find his ex-girlfriend Tammy Thatcher with another man.
The shooting occurred. The female broke away. She went upstairs. We feel she attempted to notify the police, and that's where the second incident is involved.
The second incident is when the suspect allegedly fought with the woman and then pistol whipped her. Police say after the shooting, the suspect raced out of the house and he jumped into his ex-girlfriend's car and then took off down this block. But they say he only made it around the corner. Police found Thatcher's 1993 red Mazda here. They think the suspect may have changed cars in this lot and then took off. Kyriakos Pamplotio had served 90 days in Nassau County Jail for only petty offenses, including misdemeanors and traffic violations. Neighbors can't believe what they've seen.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I would never ever, this is a great neighborhood, and I've been here a couple years. I would never ever dream of that.
Tonight, the 2 victims are still hospitalized. Tammy Thatcher is in stable condition, but her boyfriend is critically injured. Reporting live from Rockville Center, Dick Brennan, UPN 9, back to you.
Thanks, Dick. There's a brutal rapist on the loose tonight in Brooklyn. Police say he raped a 30-year-old.
Long Island Church is the target of an unholy act. It was vandalized. Police say someone broke into the First Church of Christ Scientist. They knocked over pews and caused all sorts of other damage. They also scratched anti-Christian graffiti on the walls, but we'll spare showing you those ugly messages of hate.
If you do the... I've been telling you about a brave young man named Landon Bartell. He had a double lung transplant when he was younger, and now he needs another one. Out in Long Island, the Boy Scouts and Knights of Pythias joined forces in collecting $5,000 to help pay his medical bills. Right now, Landon's #1 on the donor receiver list.
Landon and my wife Rhonda are waiting in St. Louis for the past 2 months for a donor to become available.
If you want to help Landon, you can send contributions to the Landon Bartell Fund, care of the Sayville Jewish Community Center, 225 Greenlee Avenue, Sayville, New York, 11782. Well, I'll tell you what, you couldn't get a better fall day.
That update. Cynthia?
Well, Mario, this one in Comac, Long Island. The body of a newborn infant found in a bathroom stall. Cops say a cleaning woman made the gruesome discovery at Comac Cinemas early this morning. Police have no leads and are asking anyone with information to call Suffolk Police Department at 1-800-299-7310. A deadly blaze in Brooklyn claimed...
Police say the woman was cleaning the restrooms at the Comac Cinemas and found the body of a newborn baby in the bathroom. The discovery was made early this morning. Police are not releasing information on the identity of the infant or its parents.
There's an investigation.
On Long Island, a newborn baby found dead in a movie theater restroom. It happened at the Comac Cinemas near the Long Island Expressway. Police say a cleaning woman discovered the infant's body in a stall in the ladies' room about 1 o'clock this morning. Suffolk County medical examiners will perform an autopsy to determine the cause of the death. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
New York City's biggest blood bank is...
On Long Island, another newborn baby was found dead, this one inside a movie theater bathroom. The baby boy was found by a cleaning woman at the Comac Cinemas this morning. Police say the 7.5-pound boy was delivered full term and was apparently alive when his body was dumped into a toilet. After checking security cameras, detectives think the child's mother is a teenager. They are asking her to come forward.
A horrible accident in Newark tonight. Cops say a stolen tractor slammed...
Card Monte games played on the sidewalks of New York. What you see isn't what you get, and only fools take part. Right now, we're wasting our Sunday afternoons looking for a payoff from a Jets team that plays hard but loses easily. As in 3-Card Monte, first the tees. Jeff Graham caught 3 touchdown passes from Frank Reich, and Graham had another taken away on a questionable call. Reich is a poor understudy for the injured Neil O'Donnell. He was intercepted 4 times. This one returned by Eugene Daniels for a score. Also, Reich lost a fumble and was sacked for a safety. Still, the Jets had a 3-point lead in the 4th, but Aaron Glenn's pass interference was one of 7 Jets penalties in the last quarter. And for a heavy dose of irony, former Jets place kicker Carrie Blanchard kicked 3 field goals, 2 in the last quarter, the longest from the 50. The Jets lost for the 10th time in 11 games, but not before Keyshawn Johnson lost the handle on a Hail Mary heave in the final seconds. Jets lost 34-29.
And we just have to move on, but I think it's the common thing, turnovers, and more turnovers.
But hurting ourselves has been the common theme this year. Certainly hasn't been playing hard. I think we had some great guys. I think Victor Green played as well as any safety could play. Hugh Douglas played a tremendous game, and not to mention Jeff Graham, the game he had. But again, we walk away a loser.
In their last 4 defeats, the Jets lost by 5.
Watch, then Rich Kotite should be on Big Ben. Kotite's Keystone Cops lost to the Colts yesterday. They dropped to 1-10 on the year, 4-23 since Kotite took over.
I understand what the record is. I understand all those things. I also understand that it's my nature and the people around here that we're going to do all we can to turn this thing around.
And while we try and figure out the future of the coaches here, one major coaching
highway, Newscopter 7 was overhead shortly after 4 people were killed in an accident on the Northern State Parkway. Good evening, everybody. I'm Roz Abrams.
I'm Greg Hurst. Here's what's happening. Police say the car carrying 5 people was heading east when it ran off the road and slammed into a tree. It happened in Woodbury between exits 38 and 39, and now lives are forever changed. As for the immediate effect on the commute, eastbound traffic on the Northern State is backed up for miles. Now, this is a live picture from Newscopter 7 at the scene. Besides the 4 killed in the crash, 1 person in the car is in critical condition. NJ Burkett is there with the very latest. NJ?
That's right, Greg. 4 people dead. The only survivor of this crash is listed in critical condition at this hour. The eastbound lanes of the Northern State Parkway are shut down after a horrifying crash here in Woodbury, Long Island, just 2 hours ago. It happened at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The car was demolished on impact. 3 passengers died instantly. 2 others, Greg, were rushed to area hospitals where a 4th victim, we're told, has died within the hour. The only survivor is listed in critical condition at the Nassau County Medical Center in East Meadow. Now, there is a lot about this crash we do not know at this hour. The victims have not been identified. We do not know where they were coming from or where they were going to. The car appears to have veered off the road and into a tree at a high rate of speed. We're joined now live by Sergeant Timothy Hines with the New York State Police. Sergeant Hines, tell me right now what the eyewitnesses have told the state police.
We have several eyewitness accounts. What they've told us is that the vehicle, it's a Hyundai Excel, was traveling at a high rate of speed, appeared to lose control, veered off the roadway, and struck a tree.
All right, thank you very much. Sergeant Hines, New York State Police, and once again a recap, 1 car tonight, 4 of them are dead. The only survivor is listed in critical condition at this hour. Live tonight, the Northern State Parkway, Woodbury, Long Island. And Jay Burke at Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And Jay, this tragic accident has caused massive backups. We'll check on that.
Penny. Well, a community that's trying to take back its neighborhood from drug dealers was forced into drastic action. They demolished a house in North Bellport, Long Island. Suffolk County officials say it was attracting drug dealers and illegal activities. It's part of a community project to preserve the quality of life in the town of Brookhaven.
Well, Nick Bissell is still in the wind.
4 others are dead after their car slammed into a tree on the side of the Northern State Parkway. Traffic tied up for several hours this afternoon as police searched the twisted wreckage of the car to try and find some answers as to why this happened. Long Island correspondent Rosemary Gomez has a report.
State police say witnesses saw the Hyundai Excel traveling at a high rate of speed before it skidded off the road and slammed into a tree off the eastbound lanes of the Northern State Parkway at the Nassau-Suffolk border. 3 people trapped in the car were pronounced dead at the scene. 2 others were ejected and airlifted to nearby hospitals, where 1 later died from her injuries.
The cause of the accident is still under investigation, but speed obviously played a factor.
The accident happened around 3 between exits 38 and 39 of the Parkway in Plainview. What may have been the tragic end to a drive home left rush hour traffic tied up for miles as police tried to sort out exactly what happened. The eastbound lanes were closed for several hours, leaving some people trapped on the road since 3. Side roads were packed, to say the least, giving drivers no way out from the rush hour mess. On Long Island, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
The UPS driver received minor injuries when he was overcome by fumes from spilled hydrochloric acid. Authorities say the driver was stopped at a Hicksville, Long Island school when a package containing the acid broke open and spilled in the back of his truck. The driver was overcome and transported to Nassau County Medical Center, where he's being held overnight for observation. Police hazardous materials units were called to the scene to clean up the spill and remove the truck. Hydrochloric acid is not the same chemical that killed sanitation worker Michael Hanley last week. Unabomber suspect Theodore Kaczynski will be arraigned on murder charges in New Jersey by
crash on the northern state in Plainview. Right now, Long Island reporter MG Perez is on the scene with the latest. MG?
Sue will tell you that we're situated between Sunnyside Boulevard and Round Swamp Road. That's exit 38 and exit 39 on the Northern State Parkway. As you mentioned, at this hour, all lanes eastbound remain closed. Here's what we know right now about the accident. It happened at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We know that there were 5 adults that were traveling in a Hyundai Excel. According to state troopers, the Hyundai Excel apparently was going too quickly along the parkway, skidded and went off of the parkway and slammed into a tree. 3 people, 3 of the adults in the Hyundai Excel died here at the scene. A 4th person was taken to North Shore University Hospital, and we were told that 4th person died just a short time ago. A 5th person who was also in that car is now being treated at Nassau County Medical Center, we're told, in critical condition. Again, all eastbound lanes remain closed on the Northern State Parkway here in Plainview, situated between Sunnyside Boulevard and Round Swamp Road. Now, we asked state troopers how long this investigation might go on. They tell us that the bodies have not been removed from the scene. They are obviously checking out the scene for any evidence they might need in their investigation. They expect the parkway here to remain closed at least for the next hour. We'll have to keep you posted and updated on the continuing investigation. Reporting live on the Northern State Parkway in Plainview, I'm MG Perez. Back to you in the studio.
MG, thank you. And there is
a terrible accident on Long Island took 4 lives today. It happened on the Northern State Parkway in Plainview just before rush hour. A car shot off the highway and smashed into a tree. Of the 5 people in the car, only 1 remains alive and is in the hospital. Traffic was backed up for miles. A crazy car.
Morning in North Bellport, Long Island, through the teeth of a bulldozer. The reason, the structure was abandoned and unsafe and had become a magnet for prostitutes and crack dealers. The house was destroyed under a cooperative program between the town of Brookhaven and Suffolk County. It's called Operation Firestorm.
Well, it's an annual holiday.
The man from Great Neck, Long Island, was already in trouble with the law. Tonight, he's in even more trouble. He was caught driving a stolen car with a suspended license. But it's not so much what he did that got him into double trouble. It's when he decided to do it. NJ Burkett now live in Mineola with details. NJ?
And safe to say, Bill, it was not Thomas Conran's lucky day. Detectives say his first mistake was getting arrested for grand larceny. They say his second mistake was showing up here at the courthouse in a stolen car.
Prosecutors say Thomas Conran is a heartless thief who doesn't know when to quit. Just as he was about to go on trial for bilking 2 disabled people out of $18,000, he was arrested again. After detectives say he drove to his court appearance in a stolen car. Conran had just left the Nassau County Courthouse after a pretrial hearing. Like everyone else at the hearing, he headed for the parking lot. Unlike everyone else, Thomas Conran has a suspended driver's license.
The detective who made the original arrest knew that Thomas Conran wasn't supposed to be driving. So when Conran went to the parking lot, the detective followed him.
And police say the minute Conran pulled away, the detective pulled him over. He checked the registration and couldn't believe it. Thomas Conran, he said, was driving a stolen car. Police say the 1996 Ford Taurus had been stolen from this rent-a-car company, just a matter of miles from Thomas Conran's home on the North Shore of Long Island. Tonight, county police detectives who've seen just about everything are amused but not exactly surprised.
And I don't think anything really shocks any of us here anymore when you're here for a while. It's just another turn of events that doesn't happen on an everyday occurrence.
Now, the arrest was made by Detective Thomas Wildig of the 3rd Nassau County Police Precinct. Conran is charged so far with possession of stolen property. He pleaded not guilty and was released late this afternoon, and we are told he did not attempt to drive himself home. Live tonight, Nassau County Courthouse, Mineola, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, NJ, thank you.
Well, on Long Island, cops arrest a man for terrorizing his wife. Gloria Del Rosario had an order of protection against her husband, but that didn't stop him from pulling her out of her car at a gas station and beating her. 45-year-old Manuel Del Rosario then followed his wife, ramming into her car and trying to run her off the road. Mrs. Del Rosario got help by calling the cops on her cell phone. Her husband is now charged with DWI and assault. Aria?
Carol, most drivers caught driving drunk.
Make that double or even triple trouble on Long Island tonight. Thomas Conran was in court in Mineola for allegedly selling two brothers a condo that didn't exist. Well, outside court, a detective who had been a witness at the hearing saw Conran get in a car and drive away. So he stopped the car. He knew the suspect's license was suspended. Well, it turns out not only was his license suspended, the car Conran was driving was stolen.
Moving day. It's hectic enough.
Of his female patients. But instead of attending his trial, his family buried him today. Long Island correspondent Rosemary Gomez reports.
Put the camera away. Get the hell out of here. I got it, buddy. You guys upsetting family.
His family blames the DA and the media for Dr. George Raniolo's dissent.
No comment. You guys are partially responsible for this. I hold you all responsible.
At the height of his career, the Long Island doctor had it all. A successful practice, a beautiful home, and a wife and 6 kids. But 2 days before he was supposed to go on trial on charges of sexually abusing 12 female patients, the doctor was found dead at this Smithtown hotel from an apparent suicide.
I just, opened up the door and I saw his feet, and that was it.
A hotel housekeeper discovered the doctor's body on Sunday in a $65 a night room. He was laid to rest on a day he would have faced some of his former patients in court.
Well, I'm sure he was a loving father, from what I read in the papers. But on the other side of the coin, to some of his patients, it was their worst nightmare.
The 51-year-old family doctor was indicted last November after a patient who went to him for a migraine accused him of fondling her breasts. The 21-count indictment later included charges of forcing another patient to have oral sex and allegedly touching the private parts of others. The DA says upwards of 40 women came forward after the first reports. The doctor's world came tumbling down after he was indicted. He reportedly had to sell his home to meet mounting legal bills and thought he'd never be able to recover. The doctor's license was revoked and he lost his practice in St. James. His lawyer claims the family physician maintained he was innocent all along and accused the DA of just trying to be politically correct. But the lead prosecutor says that's not the case.
We had 12 women who had absolutely nothing in common other than the fact that they had gone to George Raniolo for medical treatment.
The DA says his office rejected offers for a plea bargain, claiming it was time for the doctor to take responsibility for his actions. On Long Island, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
10 employees of social...
Well, Sue, behind me is Route 347 here in Smithtown, where it was the scene today of a very strange and most unusual and dangerous police chase today. It started, as you said, with a purse snatching in a Smithtown driveway and ended with the suspect apparently shooting himself in the head. Arlene Steck of Crescent Circle was returning home from errands. She says she was approached by a polite man in her driveway who pulled what looked like a gun, shot one shot into the ground, then said, "Back off, lady," and grabbed her pocketbook out of her car and sped off. Well, Mrs. Steck had the wherewithal to copy down the license plate. She called 911. Police were able to track down the suspect. When they closed in on him and surrounded him at the Smith Haven Mall, he apparently got out of his car and shot himself in the head with what police believed at the time was a flare gun. He was rushed to Stony Brook University Hospital.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange world we live in.
And yet he seemed quite normal, and he was quite well spoken, really. I didn't, he didn't do anything except when he pulled the gun out and said, back off. And,
Didn't it seem mentally disturbed or anything like that?
No.
Well, perhaps the strangest part of all this, Suffolk police are now saying that they don't know what happened to him, and if in fact he did shoot himself in the head, that doctors at Stony Brook University Hospital can't find anything wrong with him. Now, Mrs. Steck's perseverance didn't end in her driveway. She went to the hospital and she did make a positive identification of this suspect. She says that she doesn't want this to happen to anyone else. Suffolk police say they'll be working on this one for a while. They're trying to find out exactly what did happen. Did the suspect shoot himself or just fake it? Reporting live from Route 347 in Suffolk County, I'm Carolyn Gussoff. Back now to you in the studio.
Traffic control system should make the skies over New York a lot safer. They installed it at the big radar center in Westbury on Long Island. The old system was way out of date. The new one will handle all the flights between JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark airports. Among other things, it sets off an alarm if planes come too close to each other. And
beating his ex-girlfriend and shooting her companion to death is waiting to be arraigned. 32-year-old Kyriakos Papaliodou of Elmont was arrested in Tuxedo Park yesterday after state police spotted his car parked near a motel. He's charged with first-degree murder and second-degree assault. The shootings occurred during a confrontation at the woman's Rockville Center home.
This time at the Hicksville station of the Long Island Railroad. A passenger car caught fire. Officials say it started in the bathroom. They suspect arson. The entire train was evacuated. A quick-acting conductor got the fire under control. Hicksville firefighters did the rest. The line was shut down for about an hour, but everything is back to normal now, and police are investigating.
Well, it was anything.
Car accident kills a doctor from Pennsylvania. He was killed winterizing his boat at a marina in Huntington. Officials say 54-year-old John Creamer was at the top of the mast when it snapped in half, sending him plunging 35 feet to his death. He hit the boat next to his. Dr. Creamer had docked at that marina for more than 8 years. There's more to.
One of New York's most wanted. Cops say he viciously beat his ex-girlfriend and murdered a friend of hers. Nassau County Police got a tip the rental car he was driving was parked outside a motel. On November 14th, Tammy Thatcher was attacked at her home in Rockville Center. Richard Lavelle was shot 2 times. The suspect claims he was merely acting in self-defense, but police don't buy it.
He beat the female so severely that we couldn't even tell for 2 days whether she was shot or not. Savage beating. There was no self-defense in this case.
Thatcher is in good condition and may be released tomorrow.
Santos Miles for the Channel 11 News at 10.
50 commuters heading east on a Long Island Railroad train were evacuated at the Hicksville station when fire and smoke filled one of the cars. It happened around 6 this evening. According to police, it started when a passenger tried to extinguish a cigarette in the bathroom of the car. All 50 passengers were evacuated safely and there were no injuries. The Hicksville line was shut down for 1 hour. Fire officials say the car suffered $25,000 worth of damage.
A Smithtown church. The oldest suspect is 16 years old and was in custody this morning at police headquarters in Yaphank. The 2 others, ages 12 and 15, are juveniles and have been released to their parents. The Christian Scientist Church in Smithtown was vandalized 2 weeks ago, including hateful graffiti carved into one of the walls. The sensational case of
ex-girlfriend and killed her companion a couple of weeks ago in Rockville Center. Today he was formally charged with murder and assault. The suspect was picked up yesterday morning in Orange County after police spotted his car outside a motel.
Robbing a church in Smithtown. This is one of them. He's only 16 years old. The other 2 are even younger, 15 and 12. Cops say they broke into the First Church of Christ Scientists last week. They allegedly defaced the sanctuary and sprayed a fire extinguisher.
Smiling because looks like they'll have quarterback Neil O'Donnell back in time for this week's game with Houston. Maybe he can change the luck of the 1-11 Jets. At this point, they're just about ready to try anything to turn around what has been an absolutely hard season.
I don't know what the problem is. We've been in a lot of games this year, and we just haven't found a way to win more than 1 game this year.
A lot of guys are frustrated. I mean, it's been a hard season, but we know we just have to hang in there for 4 more games. I mean, what can you do? I mean, we can't turn tail and run.
Sounds like they've pretty much given up. Well, in the story we've been working on since last month.
This is one of the teens charged with the crime. Police say all 3 have admitted their roles in the break-in. Authorities say the teens broke into the back window of the Christian Science Church, dumped bookcases, and scraped symbols of hate on the walls. It's estimated the damages came to over $1,000.
In the desecration of a church in Smithtown, 16-year-old Kurt Meyer Jr. and 2 minors, ages 12 and 15, are charged with burglary and aggravated harassment. Police say that on November 11th, they broke into the church and did a lot of damages and other anti-Christian symbols and covering the place with graffiti. They also unleashed 2 fire extinguishers, forcing an extensive cleanup.
Much more still ahead. Authorities
to keep teens from drinking and driving, police in Nassau County are passing out fake ID detectors to all bars and store owners who sell liquor. It's a small flashlight that can spot phony driver's licenses. If you're caught, you'll be arrested. Having a fake ID is a felony.
Rickard Person to St. Louis for Ken Sutton and a draft pick. And there's a new sheriff in town on the island, 32-year-old John Spano. He grew up in New York City, but made his money in Dallas. Purchased 90% of the Islanders today for $165 million.
Yes, the Islanders are going to stay here. I won't move them. Yes, we will get a new building. Yes, Mike Milbury is the man that will run hockey. I have every confidence in the world in Mike.
Fake ID to buy booze in Nassau County, you better watch out. Cops have a new weapon to catch you. It's a small flashlight that uses a special type of light to expose alterations in driver's licenses. 300 of the fake ID detectors have been given to bars and other places that sell liquor.
Now it's time for some good news, the kind of stories you've been asking to
Deal Avenue.
But thieves disregarded any sense of decency when they robbed the poor boxes of the Curé of Ars Catholic Church in Merrick, Long Island. They took the whole boxes, which were later found in a nearby dumpster. No word on how much money was in them. Thanks to a clerical
is sacred. Some lowlife ripped off the poor boxes from a Long Island church, literally. Police say the boxes were pulled off the walls of the Curé of Ars, a Catholic church in Merrick. The boxes were found in a nearby dumpster, empty. No word on how much money was inside. No arrests yet, but cops say they have several leads.
Police are investigating reports of a bizarre kid.
Fuel oil spilled on an LIE exit in Roslyn this afternoon. A Hess oil truck was turning onto Glen Cove Road when it flipped over. Despite the mess, police say traffic was not affected. Paramedics took the truck driver and a passenger to the hospital for observation.
A New York City cop has been suspended.
We're going to leave you tonight with the beautiful sounds of those young musicians from the Tarume Violin Program. Good night.
Bigger than the
musicians play it up for a special audience. The concert took place at the Ronald McDonald House, which helps the parents of hospitalized children. The musicians, ages 3 to 16, are members of the Tarume Violin Program. Well, they're so good they performed for the Pope and for the President at the White House Christmas celebration. You'll get to hear more from these talented kids later on in the show.
Sounds good. Well, with the holidays upon us, one woman...
Vandals who trashed this cemetery on Long Island. 30 tombstones, some which date back to the 1800s, were knocked down Friday night or early Saturday morning at the Northport Rural Cemetery. The caretaker discovered the damage.
Well, it had to be done at night with the stones because the neighbors across the street, would have seen it.
Lewis says it will cost $10,000 to fix the headstones.
The astronauts on the Space Shuttle Columbia are feeling powerful.
Historic Long Island Cemetery. Police are looking for whoever knocked down as many as 30 tombstones in the Northport Rural Cemetery. Some of the damaged headstones date back to the 1800s. Damage is estimated to be about $10,000.
City Hall is moving ahead with plans to close down the fresh...
has disturbed the final resting place of thousands of Long Islanders. Suffolk County police say about 30 tombstones at the Northport Rural Cemetery were knocked over, some even cracked in half. The caretaker of the cemetery said he discovered the damage when he arrived for his shift early yesterday and believes the vandalism took place Thanksgiving night. The cemetery is home to tombstones which date back to the 1800s.
The widow of former Somerset County. Local stories making tonight's UPN 9 News front page. Vandals turn a cemetery in Northport, Long Island upside down. 30 tombstones knocked off their bases. The cemetery caretaker discovered the deed yesterday and figures the culprits did $10,000 worth of damage. Suffolk County police are asking anyone with information to please call them. The ground literally opened up this morning.
Tonight are looking for the people who spent part of their Thanksgiving vandalizing a cemetery. It happened at the Northport Rural Cemetery in Suffolk County either Thursday night or early Friday morning. 30 tombstones were knocked off their bases, some of them dating back to the 1800s. It's been way too long in coming for Staten Islanders, but they... world-renowned Tarumi violinists performing this afternoon at Ronald McDonald House in New York. The Tarumi violinists range in age from 3 to 17. On Monday, they'll perform in Washington for Mrs. Clinton's preview announcement of the White House Christmas theme. Very talented. What a nice treat for them. Well, we are not getting a treat tomorrow, are we?
5 men allegedly followed 23-year-old Maria Rodriguez out of a Brentwood restaurant last night, then surrounded her car. According to police, one of the men pointed a gun inside the car window and pulled the trigger. The gun misfired. The woman was able to drive off, find a police officer, who then made the arrest.
Fire marshal with attempting to murder a 23-year-old Brentwood woman. The suspects were arrested yesterday outside a Brentwood restaurant. Police say they harassed the woman as she left the restaurant, then surrounded her car. 4 were armed with knives, the other with a gun. He tried to shoot her, but the gun misfired. The woman managed to drive away and get help.
A woman at a hotel in Patchogue, Long Island, sent dozens of people running into the streets. Firefighters say it began about 9 last night at the Smithport Hotel on South Ocean Avenue. Luckily, no one was hurt. No word on what caused the blaze.
An acidic man who...
Long Island residents homeless tonight. Fire broke out in a boarding house in Patchogue last night. The fire department responded quickly, but the damage was already done. None of the boarding house residents was injured, and officials are trying to help them find a place to stay. The arson squad is investigating.
The water may be running. Family horror. Reports that a teenager went berserk and allegedly beat his father to death. Cops say the boy also murdered his father's girlfriend. Una Kwan is live for us right now in East Islip with the rest of this terrifying story. Una.
Well, Mario, last night police were called to this 2-story red house over there to check on reports of a domestic dispute. Inside, a horrifying discovery: the bodies of 41-year-old Thomas Burns and his 31-year-old girlfriend, Antoinetta Johnson. They had indeed been beaten to death. While police were there, the man's 19-year-old son, also Thomas Burns, returned to the house, and that's when police arrested him on charges of second-degree murder. The Burns family had lived in this neighborhood for years. Neighbors, many of them, remember the 19-year-old Thomas Burns as a 3-year-old when he lived there with his mother and father. Neighbors say the father-son relationship was a troubled one. There were hints of violence and constant sounds of noisy disagreement.
On occasions, there was some noise.
Well, I've never heard of anything like physical fighting, just arguing and a lot of cursing.
They used to argue a lot. I know that there was, you know, when he moved back when he was a little bit older, they used to argue a lot, but never expected anything like this.
Now, neighbors say, those same neighbors, they heard nothing unusual or saw anything unusual last night at the house until they saw all the police cars pulling up. Police at this point will not reveal what the murder weapon was or if they have recovered it, nor will they say anything about a motive for last night's horrifying scene. Una Kwan live in East Islip. Mario, back to you.
Una, thank you very much for that report this noon. Cynthia.
Mario.
This is the Tri-State Area's news leader, Channel 7 Eyewitness News, with Rob Hanrahan, Nancy Lou, Bill Evans with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
A couple on Long Island is found murdered in their home, and police say the killer is the son of one of the victims. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nancy Lou.
I'm Rob Hanrahan. The call came into Suffolk County Police last night as a family fight. When officers arrived in East Islip, they found 2 people beaten to death. In the end, they arrested the son of one of the victims. NJ Burkett joins us live with the latest details for us. NJ?
Rob, Suffolk County Police Headquarters, Yaphank, Long Island detectives are about to hold a news conference. One neighbor called this one truly tragic. An abusive father, a defiant son, and a double murder in a middle-class suburb. Thomas Burns is 19 years old. Detectives say he confessed to murdering his father and his father's live-in girlfriend by beating them with a baseball bat in his boyhood home. Neighbors heard the commotion and called 911.
When they arrived, officers found people outside that indicated that there were victims within. They made entry into the house and discovered the 2 victims dead inside. While police were there, shortly after police had already arrived, the defendant in this case returned to the scene and police took him into custody.
Neighbors say the motive is still not clear, but neighbors say father and son had a painful, at times even violent relationship. Some have described the father as a bitter, angry man. Police had been called to the home to settle disputes over and over again. Ralph Guarino lives next door.
Who knows what brought on what happened last night, but believe me, it didn't start last night. It wasn't a thing that just started. It seemed like the kid could never do the right thing, and the father was always after him, and there was a few incidents here where the police were here before, you know, and it was just a shame, you know. It just never got any better.
Thomas Burns is charged with 2 counts of murder. It is potentially a capital case. His father is also Thomas Burns. Mr. Burns' live-in girlfriend is identified by police as 31-year-old Antoinetta Johnston. Live this afternoon at Suffolk County Police Headquarters, Yaphank, Long Island. NJ Burke at Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, NJ. A Long Island cemetery.
Arrest charged in a deadly family tragedy, and neighbors say they saw it coming. Police say they were called to an East Islip home to check out a domestic dispute. When they got there, they found 41-year-old Thomas Burns and his girlfriend, 31-year-old Antoinetta Johnson, bludgeoned to death. Burns' son arrived back at the house while police were investigating. They say 19-year-old Thomas Burns Jr. admitted to the killings. Neighbors say they saw it coming because there were bad feelings between father and son. Manhattan police are puzzled.
Accused of spraying 2 people with mace in an argument over shoplifting. Police say a security guard stopped Daryl Maxwell from leaving a store in Garden City yesterday and accused him of trying to steal shirts. They say Maxwell then maced her and an off-duty auxiliary officer and then ran off. He was caught a few blocks away. And we also have this breaking story. The killer in the gym
arrested tonight, accused of a double murder. 19-year-old Thomas Burns was taken into custody after he allegedly killed his own father and his dad's girlfriend at their East Islip home. Suffolk County police say the teen beat the couple to death. The teen claims he was abused by his father.
Sentencing to
Garden City, this after he allegedly tried to spray them with mace. Police say 36-year-old Daryl Maxwell tried to steal 4 shirts from a Sears store. When he was stopped by security guards, he allegedly sprayed the officers before trying to take off. Maxwell was eventually captured and taken into custody.
A fire department ambulance son ends in death.
Police say a request to run an errand turned into a double homicide last night. Something made 19-year-old Thomas Burns snap, causing him to turn on his father, bludgeoning both him and his father's 31-year-old girlfriend to death. Marvin Scott has the latest on this devastating story.
Police had been to this house on Matinacock Avenue before, responding to calls of violent battles between a father and son. This time they responded and found the father and his girlfriend dead, bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat during another fierce father-son argument. 19-year-old Thomas Burns is now charged with the murders of his 41-year-old father, Tom, and his girlfriend, 31-year-old Antoinetta Johnson, who moved in just a few months ago. Police say the rampage was triggered after a seemingly simple request got out of hand.
The father may have wanted him to go on an errand on foot. The son really didn't want to do that. That, again, became a dispute, escalated.
Police say young Burns, who moved in with his father last July, fled the scene after the murders and returned about half an hour later with his mother, who also lives in East Islip. Neighbors say there was always noise coming from this house. Sometimes furniture was being thrown. And they characterized the father as a violent man.
Him and his son just didn't get along. The son, Tommy, was abused by his dad. I mean, they had many fights. And many times he would be kicked out of the house. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning. Just over silly, nonsensical things, but his father had a bad drinking habit.
I always suspected that something was going to manifest itself there because it never got any better. It seemed like it was always just festering.
Police believe the girlfriend may have become an innocent victim who walked in during the battle and may have tried to separate the father and son. Neighbors say what happened behind these doors last night is the culmination of extensive abuse by a father with a violent temper. But police say that is no justification for murder. And prosecutors say they'll examine the circumstances of this case before determining whether or not to seek the death penalty. In East Islip, Long Island, I'm Marvin Scott for the Channel 11 News at 10.
A young professional is under arrest tonight in a horrifying crime.
They tell us a suspected shoplifter gave them quite a time before they got him. Daryl Maxwell. He is accused of spraying mace in the face of a store security guard and an auxiliary cop. But they still managed to grab him and hold on to him. This happened at a Sears store in Garden City.
Cops are on the trail of a man they say.
Neil O'Donnell will not play any more football this year. The calf muscle that he pulled in pregame warm-ups on Sunday won't heal in the next 3 weeks. It's all gone wrong for the Jets this year, and today some of the guys popped off.
Can't keep up with this losing. The losing part, man, it gets at you. It gets at everybody. You know, start asking why, start pointing. You don't try to point no fingers, but you start looking and start saying what's going on. I know we got the talent, we got the people. It's just why we can't win.
The Jets' top draft pick, Keyshawn Johnson, was a winner when he came to town, but on Sunday, Keyshawn had a couple of drops. All season long, he said he needs the football. Is Keyshawn unhappy with the offensive coach, Ron Erhardt's game plan?
Don't get me wrong, he's a wonderful offensive coordinator. There's nothing wrong with some of the things that he does, but then at the same time, they don't have that rhythm yet.
And Keyshawn doesn't have the rhythm. And now back to...
And in Mineola, we're busy today, scrubbing away the hate slogan some idiots painted on buildings around town. And right at the start of the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, police are just as busy hunting down whoever did it.
President Clinton...
Festival of Lights was marred by acts of hate on Long Island. A diner in Mineola was one of 4 businesses that found swastikas spray painted on the outside walls this morning. The vandals also spray painted a swastika on the door of the Hampton Street School. A factory and Department of Public Works building were also struck. Detectives think all of the incidents were committed by the same person, but so far no arrests have been made.
Jews around the world celebrated the...
Tonight, charged with making bombs and trying to sell them for profit. Cops say they caught him red-handed.
Did you do it? This is your one chance to say something before they get you inside.
The feds say 19-year-old Seth Rivera sold them a time bomb. It weighed about 1.5 pounds and was strong enough to blow up a car. ATF agent John Peters says the buy and bust operation began 2 months ago.
We had an original buy of about 36 blasting caps and explosives. The last buy yesterday consisted of a bomb, a timed device, sold to an undercover. Both of them were undercover sales.
Rivera allegedly built the bomb in his parents' home in Mastic. Neighbors were stunned.
He used to mow people's lawns, used to ride around. I think a couple times he played baseball with us. He seemed really nice. I'd have no idea. You'd never know.
That's scary. That's right in your own backyard.
A search of Rivera's home last night turned up 8 additional blasting caps. Authorities are investigating how Rivera got the explosives, which require a permit in New York. The Suffolk County Community College student expected to sell the bomb for $2,000. He did not expect to get busted.
I think he was very surprised. I thought at first maybe he even thought that we were trying to rip him off.
Just how sophisticated was the bomb?
You know, sophistication. A bomb is a bomb. You know, we're not talking here about building a computer. You have explosives, you have a timer, you have blasting caps, you have an energy source, you have a bomb.
Rivera was arraigned this afternoon and ordered held without bail. If convicted on all charges, he faces 10 years.
In a parking lot in a supermarket, the feds say it was bombs to order. Now a college student is under arrest. Investigators sure would like to know who else was buying the explosive merchandise. Una Kwan reports from Santa Mauritius.
19-year-old Seth Rivera said he was sorry.
I'm very sorry for what I did. What you do it for money? Yes.
How much money? $2,000 for a homemade bomb. The sting went down last night in Santa Mauritius. Federal undercover agents met up with Rivera here in a secluded corner of the Walbaum supermarket on Main Street. After they made the buy, they made the arrest. Then they dismantled the bomb. Federal agents say it could have done a lot of damage.
About 1.5 pounds. It's got some power to it. Blow a car apart.
At Rivera's Mastic home, investigators found materials to make more bombs. Undercover agents started tailing Rivera 2 months ago after he apparently put the word on the street he had high-powered bombs for sale. Agents made an initial buy of blasting caps and explosives. Last night, Rivera allegedly sold them the real thing. Not terribly sophisticated, but then a bomb doesn't have to be.
We're not talking here about building a computer. You have explosives, you have a timer, you have blasting caps, you have an energy source, you have a bomb.
Rivera's neighbors are outraged and frightened.
Because he could have planted a bomb anywhere in the neighborhood and could have killed hundreds of kids. I mean, there's kids around here all day long.
Rivera's best friend defended him.
What kind of kid?
Steppers a nice guy, and I think the reporter should leave everybody alone.
Where Rivera got his materials and to whom he sold his bombs. Two of the top questions for investigators right now. In Mastic, Long Island, Una Kwan, Fox News.
Bad weather made this barge run aground on Long Island. She was at the loading dock when the high winds and heavy seas snapped several mooring lines. Tugboats couldn't get to it quickly enough, so it washed ashore. There were thousands of gallons of oil on the barge, but they were all unloaded safely. There were no injuries.
An apparent robbery attempt on Long Island tonight. It happened at a liquor store in Rockville Center. Police think 3 men robbed the store. Then as they tried to get away, they say, the store owner shot at them. 2 alleged robbers were arrested. A long-running landlord...
Jackknife tractor trailers, accidents, and the snow swept across the city. The snow line just marched across the state into New York and across it to Long Island.
Windswept sleet made for rough going on Long Island. This down sign in Stony Brook. In Port Jefferson, a canopy blows off a restaurant roof. And in Medford and Coram, roads were closed due to heavy flooding. In Queens, flooding made 88...
Blame for an oil barge grounded off Long Island's North Shore. Crews had just finished unloading millions of gallons of heating oil when the ship's lines broke loose in the stormy weather. The near-empty barge went out to sea before grounding off Eaton's Neck. There were no injuries, and the Coast Guard says there is little threat to the environment.
Well, Jenny Peterson, and this tape coming up here in a moment, is right on the beach. It had more than 12,000 gallons of number 6 heating oil in its hold when the lines broke loose. The barge hit an offshore terminal, then drifted on shore. Late this afternoon, a tug pulled it free and towed it back into deep water.
It was a rude awakening and...
Straight ahead on the Channel 11 News at 10, 2 late developing stories for you tonight. A Columbia University student arrested for a crime involving sex, torture, and the internet, and a deadly stabbing at a Queens subway station. An emotional day at the O.J. Simpson trial as the families of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown get the chance to speak about their ordeal. An early taste of winter hits the tri-state area, and more is on the way for the weekend. A winter storm watch is up for parts of the tri-states over the next couple of days, and Mr. G will have the latest on that. A Long Island man who took his $85,000 Viper in for servicing got a big surprise when a worker took it for a joyride and wrecked it. Now he wants more than just a repair.
And a rough morning dealing with the weather in our area. There was flooding in parts of Long Island, forcing some road closings and making driving anything but pleasant. Rush hour in Manhattan, no picnic either, as some...
Dead and a third is under arrest after their car flipped over and slammed into a tree in Oakdale. The driver of the car, 18-year-old William Balkin, is accused of driving under the influence along Montauk Highway early this morning. Police say 19-year-old passenger Eric Lowry was ejected from the car and died immediately in the accident, while 18-year-old Jason Haggerty passed away a short time later. Balkin was arrested in the hospital, where he's recovering from head and other internal injuries.
3 people are dead and another is
serious at a Long Island deli. They forced 3 workers into the back of the Doty Avenue deli in Inwood, killing one of them with a shotgun blast to the chest. A sleeping Rottweiler was alerted by the noise, but the gunman killed the dog too, and then they fled. Police are looking for a tall, thin black man and a very short white or Hispanic man. Both are considered armed and dangerous.
A fatal car accident in Oakdale, Long Island takes the life of 2 teenagers. That is the car right here in this video. It's flipped in the trees. Cops say the 18-year-old driver, William Balkin, was drunk. He is in the hospital now. His 2 friends, however, who were also in the car with him, are dead. 19-year-old Eric Lowry was ejected and killed, and 18-year-old Jason Haggerty died at the hospital. Another car accident, this one in Brooklyn. A New York City police...
Well, here's something you may not know. Long Island takes the tinsel when it comes to the ultimate Christmas tree. This Norwegian spruce measures 81 feet high. That's bigger than the one at Rockefeller Center. Pop star and Long Island native Debbie Gibson had the honor of throwing the switch. She's in there somewhere among the 25,000 people who also attended the ceremony.
What a great tree. I never had any idea about that. Well, when you're shopping for gifts this holiday...
Shot and killed during a robbery in Inwood, Long Island. Police say 2 armed bandits burst in early this morning and forced 3 employees to the back of the store. Cops say the gunman opened fire, killing a 32-year-old man. The 2 suspects took off with some cash and are still on the loose. A Columbia University graduate in Oakdale, and police say alcohol is to blame. 2 teenagers were killed in the crash. A third teen was injured when the car he was driving went off the road, flipped over, and hit a tree. Police have charged him with drunk driving.
A cop car rams into another vehicle on a Parkville.
8-year-old boy is one of 4 kids charged with murdering a deli worker on Long Island. Police say the teenagers walked into the Dowdy Deli in Lawrence yesterday morning, shot 32-year-old Masood Sadiq and his dog, and stole some cash. The 15-year-old's lawyer says his client's alleged confession was coerced, and the boy is now on a suicide watch at Nassau County's Children's Facility.
Long Island stabbed his wife to death early this morning. The husband, Eugene Goldberg, called the cops saying he'd been injured during a fight with his wife. They took him to the hospital. Police returned to the house later and found his wife's body. Goldberg is under arrest tonight, charged with murder. 15-year-old Robert Bright is charged with murder for the killing of a deli worker. It happened early Saturday morning at the Doty Avenue Deli in Lawrence, Long Island. 4 others were also charged. Cops say Robert's friends Richard Robinson actually pulled the trigger. After questioning Bright, cops tracked down his friends, and they are all behind bars tonight. Oh, only 3 days old and left on a cold tile.
With every Christmas card I write.
The news brought to you by Christmas.
Man is charged tonight with killing his wife in their home in Merrick. The suspect allegedly called police early today to say he had been injured during an argument with his wife. Police found the wife dead with multiple stab wounds. He was arrested after being treated at a hospital. 15-year-old Robert Bright is being held on Long Island tonight on murder and robbery charges. Police say he and another teen fatally shot a deli worker during a robbery in Lawrence, Long Island. They got away with an undisclosed amount of cash. They were caught a short time later. Tonight, police...
A fight between a husband and wife ended in murder. They found 42-year-old Janet Goldberg at the couple's home in Merrick. Police say her husband, Eugene Goldberg, had first called them to report his wife had injured him during the fight. When they found her body, police charged Goldberg with second-degree murder. And violence at amidst 3 more teenagers in connection with a robbery and murder at a deli. Police had already arrested 18-year-old Richard Robinson and 15-year-old Robert Bright, saying they walked into a deli in Lawrence yesterday with a shotgun and handgun. One of the employees was shot in the chest and killed before the suspects fled with cash.
Railroad. Sounds like a chilling replay of the LIRR massacre back in 1993. Well, this time it was a hostage situation on a crowded train in Wyandanch this morning. Police say Anthony Norman had just robbed a bank, then jumped on board the Manhattan-bound train. As police closed in, Norman grabbed a man sitting next to him. He held that passenger hostage for 30 minutes before giving up. One passenger described the terrifying moments to Channel 2's Jennifer McLogan.
All of a sudden the cops were like, don't jump, and then the guy, I guess, reached, and 2 cops had him cornered, and from there I just took off, didn't look back, and they kept saying, move back, further down.
Did you see the guns?
Yes, I saw the guns.
Norman's been charged with first-degree robbery. No shots were fired and no one was hurt. Train service is back to normal.
In Edison, New Jersey, a freak accident claimed a...
You're watching NBC4, the Tri-State News Channel. And now, Sue Simmons, Dean Shepard, Al Roker, and Len Berman. This is News Channel 4, live at 5.
It began with a bank heist and ended with terror on a Long Island Railroad train. Good evening, I'm John Johnson. Dean is off tonight. A brazen bandit stole money from a bank in Brentwood, then tried to use a Long Island Railroad train for his getaway.
Cornered by police, the desperate robber took a passenger as a hostage while hundreds of others were evacuated. Police have just identified the suspect as 34-year-old Anthony Norman of Brentwood. MG Perez picks up the story.
This is the man accused of causing terror on the train. But it started at this EAB bank in Brentwood about 10:15 this morning. Suffolk County Police say the man robbed the bank of almost $2,000 after threatening tellers with what he called a bomb. Then he ran to catch the train at the nearby Brentwood station. Police caught up with him at the next stop in Wyandanch.
He started saying that he wasn't going out and stuff like that. The cops were gonna have to shoot him, and then the cop told him, well, you're gonna have to shoot me, or whatever the case may be, and then he grabbed somebody hostage.
Almost 300 people ran from the train as officers negotiated with the suspect who said he had a gun. It turns out he did not.
He threatened with his hand behind his back as if he had one. So at that point, the people on the train or the cops did not know if he did or did not have a weapon.
Officers managed to talk the suspect into giving up peacefully, and no one was hurt.
As things were going, you're kind of looking. I didn't know if I should get up and run off the car or whatever, but I wasn't going to be left there, so
I ended up, I guess was one of the last people off, but I got off.
The arrest was made by Suffolk County Police, but the Long Island Railroad has its own force of 200 officers, which is reassuring for passengers who can't forget the shooting massacre just 3 years ago.
We do patrol stations regularly. We have uniformed and plainclothes police officers who patrol selected trains, particularly crowded trains.
Detectives recovered the so-called bomb left behind at the bank and are analyzing it now. Employees were allowed back to work after evidence was collected. No one there was hurt either. Trains on the Ronkonkoma branch were back on track just after noon. In Wyandanch, MG Perez, News Channel 4.
Police now say that
6.
A parent's worst nightmare, the person put in charge of their child's care charged with doing them harm. We'll tell you the story of this nanny. Plus, cure or curse.
Terror for some passengers on the LIRR this morning. A man wanted for robbing a bank took a hostage on board a train. Tim Fleischer is live tonight in Deer Park with more on what happened. Tim?
Able to talk 34-year-old Anthony Norman into surrendering, Suffolk County Police believe they were able to avert a dangerous standoff from escalating.
He said he had nothing to live for, or if he wanted to go back to prison, which is, he really didn't want to go back to prison.
Detective Richard Snyder and others confronted Anthony Norman in the 5th car of the Long Island Railroad train, where they say he took a hostage.
When I got in the train, all I could see was the back of the hostage's head. He was completely still. He was sitting in the car, and the defendant was standing over the top of him. Basically, he let the hostage go fairly early.
And in a matter of seconds, they had their guns out. He was reaching for something, and the rest of the passengers just hit the ground because we saw the guns out.
Passengers watched in horror, too, as others tried to escape.
They were asking him questions, and that's when I think he reached for something. I'm not really sure, but I think he reached for something, and that's when, you know, they started to make us walk down the train and get us
out of
away.
the car.
Exactly.
Police converged on the train after getting reports that the man was allegedly involved in a robbery at this bank in nearby Brentwood.
He entered the bank. He placed a device on the counter and demanded money. He told the tellers. The tellers gave him the money. He left the device there, and he left the
bomb. Turned out to be only 2 books, but as a precaution, employees were evacuated. And down in Wyandanch, about a peaceful end.
He came towards the police several times, stopped, luckily far enough so that they didn't have to take any action, and eventually he decided that instead of dying, he'd rather surrender and go back to jail.
Police say that witnesses did see Anthony Norman take the train from Brentwood to Wyandanch. They have also been able to recover the money, less than $2,000, some of which police say, though, was used to pay for the train ticket. Reporting live from Deer Park, Tim Fleischer, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Tim, police say the bite marks on a Long Island baby were no accident, and they have arrested the child's live-in nanny. Nassau County Police have charged Judith Panchew with assaulting the 10-month-old child. The baby's mother noticed the bite marks when she was giving her child a bath. The Westchester County District Attorney has announced 4
The Tri-State News Channel. And now, Chuck Scarborough, Michelle Marsh, Janice Huff, and Len Berman. This is News Channel 4 at 6.
Good evening, everyone. It's a story that could make any parent shudder in disbelief.
The person looking after a child charged with actually doing that child harm. A nanny was arrested in a small North Shore community charged with a chilling act of abuse. Long Island reporter Carolyn Gussoff has our report.
Judith Panchew of Trinidad seemed like the perfect nanny until last Friday when the parents of the 11-month-old baby she cared for noticed a round bruise on the little boy's arm. They rushed him to Long Island Jewish Hospital, where doctors made the disturbing diagnosis. The bruise was a human bite mark.
There was a gap between the 2 front teeth, and when questioning the woman as to who the child was in the custody of and anybody that could possibly be involved in this, it was determined that the nanny did have a gap between her 2 front teeth.
The baby's parents from Searingtown asked us not to reveal their identity, but the mother told me, "We trusted her. I don't know how you can bite a child. It's inconceivable." When confronted, the nanny denied anything happened. Later, police say she confessed, saying the bite was playful. "I can't believe what it looked like on his body," the mother told me. "I don't think anything playful can leave that kind of mark." The parents, both attorneys, say they did everything by the book when they hired this nanny. They used a reputable agency and they diligently checked references. Now they say they're alarmed to find out that unless there's a conviction and a case is closed, it's nearly impossible to find out if a child care worker has ever been accused.
The only information we'll get is convictions and not just suspicions.
Child care experts say the vast majority of child abuse is perpetrated by a family member, not a hired caregiver who has been thoroughly checked out.
I really do believe this is one of the rare exceptions, especially in a case where parents have done all the right things, asked all of the questions.
The Plaza agency, which placed Judith Panchew, says she had a model background with 7 glowing references and had been on the job 10 months. When arrested, the only thing she had to say to her employers was, "What did I do wrong?" Carolyn Gussoff, News Channel 4.
Now, the child is doing fine. The nanny was free without bail, facing assault charges.
A Delaware grand jury is under arrest tonight, accused of biting a baby she was taking care of. Police say 32-year-old Judith Panchew had been working for a family in Searingtown. The mother allegedly noticed a mark on her 10-month-old son. She took him to a hospital, and doctors said it was a bite. There was mayhem tonight at had an unexpected and frightening delay this morning. A suspected bank robber took them hostage. Pete Fuentes has that story.
It wasn't the brightest plan. Steal money from a bank and use the next train as a getaway car. But that's what police are saying Norman Anthony tried to do this morning in Brentwood, Long Island. Police found out after an eyewitness saw Anthony board a train headed to New York.
Some guy came flying into our car.
He had the gun inside.
I don't know it was a gun. I didn't wait around to see the rest of the action.
In Wyandanch, police stopped the train, evacuated passengers, and a standoff began. It was a tense time. All cops knew is that they were dealing with an ex-con holding what seemed to be a gun.
Basically, when it started, he put his arm behind his back, said, "I have a weapon and I'm going to kill this gentleman or anybody else. I'm not going back to jail alive. You're going to take me out of here in a body bag."
In 10 minutes, police convinced Anthony to let the hostage go. And it took another 10 minutes before the bank robbery suspect surrendered and sharpshooters were called off.
He did not have a weapon on him on the railroad train. The bomb or the package that was left at the bank was not, in fact, a bomb. It was 2 books taped together in a bag.
Anthony is charged with first-degree robbery. The bank's money, which was less than $2,000, was recovered. And after an hour-and-a-half delays, trains began moving again.
Well, I left Ronkonkoma at 10:08. We didn't get in until just now, so you're at Wyandanch for close to an hour, if not more than an hour and a half, I would say.
In Wyandanch, Long Island, Pete Fuentes, UPN 9 News.
A man in the Bronx was shot.
It's one of the toughest choices a family will make. On Long Island, one family may have made the wrong choice. A 32-year-old woman, Judith Panchew, was arrested this morning, charged with biting a 10-month-old in her care. Police say Panchew lived with a family in Searingtown and bit the child last week. She claims the kid was misbehaving. The accused triggerman in the murder.
Tell you, some passengers in the Long Island Railroad had a frightening flashback. The 3rd anniversary of that massacre on the LIRR was just days ago, and today a man got on a train, said he had a gun, and took a hostage. This happened in Wyandanch, and for a while, a lot of people were afraid that history was about to repeat itself. Una Kwan has the story.
When hostage negotiators arrived at the Wyandanch Railroad Station, it was bedlam. Inside the 3rd car from the back was a man with a hostage. He said he had a gun.
He just grabbed the hostage, the guy sitting next to him, and put a gun to his head and told him to back off. He used to ask for it, back off, if not, I'll kill him.
And the guy was he was yelling, go ahead, you know, shoot me, I don't care.
When I got in the train, all I could see was the back of the hostage's head. He was completely still. He was sitting in the car, and the defendant was standing over the top of him.
Negotiators talked to the hostage taker for 10 minutes, trying to calm him down.
He was trying to make his decision basically in his own mind whether he wanted to die. He said he had nothing to live for.
After the removal of 2 uniformed officers with guns, 34-year-old Anthony Norman of Brentwood released his hostage unharmed and surrendered. He did not have a gun after all. He had only fooled police into thinking he had one. It all began with a robbery at this Brentwood bank, where Norman allegedly told a teller he had a bomb. He made off with $2,000. Witnesses who saw the man pull off the bank heist followed him across the street to the Brentwood train station, where they saw him hop on board the 1018 headed for Penn Station. Cops say as a getaway vehicle, the train was highly unusual. Police stopped the train at the very next stop, Coming just 2 days after the 3rd anniversary of the Long Island Railroad massacre, police were prepared for the worst. Later, they said the timing was coincidence.
I don't even think he knows what happened 3 years ago.
Police say some of the money Norman had stolen was missing. He had used it to buy his train ticket. In Wyandanch, Long Island, Una Kwan, Fox News.
Mr. Norman told the police that he robbed the bank because he's broke, and he used the train to make his getaway because he doesn't have a car. There's Annie. She's accused of biting the baby she was supposed to take care of, a boy 10 months old. Her name is Judith Panchu. She's 32. She lives in Brooklyn. She worked for a couple in Searingtown. The mother called the cops when she found bites on her baby when she was bathing it. Well, could be some confusion at
The team is 1-13, and Rich Kotite's days appear to be numbered. At his news conference, he seemed to say today that he'll lose his job at the end of the season.
I know our record. I know it's poor over the last 2 years. I don't think anyone has to remind me of that. I understand. I keep my mind in, I think, in the real world. I just feel bad in a lot of ways because our expectations were so much higher.
Can you imagine, John, week in, week out, going in to have to face the press?
Fine moments that brought back memories of Colin Ferguson and the Long Island Railroad massacre. A man robbed a bank in Brentwood, boarded a Long Island Railroad train, and took a passenger hostage. Luckily, this time, nobody was hurt. Long Island correspondent Rosemary Gomez reports.
He got the guy from grabbing the guy from the neck, and he said, "Back up before he started shooting everybody."
Witnesses replayed the hostage drama that unfolded inside the 9th car after a suspect in a bank heist tried using this Long Island Railroad train as a getaway car.
All of us just ducked, so I ended up on the floor, and then the next thing you know, more police were in, and they just told us to get out of the train.
Police say the saga began just after 10 this morning when 34-year-old Anthony Norman of Brentwood robbed an EAB bank by pretending he had a bomb. It ended with Norman boarding a westbound train and taking a male passenger as his hostage by pretending he had a gun.
All of a sudden, all the cops started screaming. All of a sudden, you hear the guy going, "Go ahead, shoot me, I don't care."
450 passengers were on the train heading to Penn Station when police boarded it in Wyandanch. They were looking for Norman after getting a tip from someone who followed him out of the bank he had just robbed.
He placed a package on the teller station stating that it was a bomb and asked for money.
Witnesses say they saw the suspect flee the bank on foot and head to this nearby train station, but that's when police stepped in and intercepted his trip. About a dozen police were on the platform with their guns drawn by the time the train pulled into Wyandanch. Police say when they approached Norman, he grabbed the passenger next to him by pretending he had a gun behind his back.
He was trying to make his decision basically in his own mind whether he wanted to die. He said he had nothing to live for. Or if he wanted to go back to prison.
After 10 minutes, this detective helped convince the suspect to let the hostage go unharmed. Some frightened passengers didn't know what to think. Others said their first thoughts were of the Long Island Railroad shooting that happened 3 years ago.
I wasn't killed, or if the train was like another Ferguson situation.
Police say Norman has a criminal record dating back to 1987. The bomb was actually 2 books taped together. Detectives say Norman got away with $2,000 from the bank, part of which he used to buy a railroad ticket. On Long Island, I'm Rosemary Gomez for the Channel 11 News at 10.
A New York City police officer.
Springdale firefighters to the rescue today. The victim, a German Shepherd that wound up at the bottom of an abandoned shaft at the Fairchild Republic factory. Now, word is tonight that the dog may have suffered a broken leg. However, we're told that one of the firefighters involved is trying to adopt the German Shepherd. Cindy?
Robbery suspect is dead.
And that follows a crime spree and a clash with cops on Long Island. Fox 5's Leslie Roberts is live with details in Hop Hog for us. Leslie.
Good afternoon, Carol. It was a wild night for Suffolk County Police. The Long Island crime spree began around 9:30 as a stolen car in Amityville and ended with a shootout in Hop Hog, leaving one man dead. Now, here's what happened, according to Suffolk County Police. They say the dead man had stolen a car and robbed a local business. The violence erupted when he was pulled over by police because he matched the description of the wanted suspect. And during questioning, he attacked the sergeant, who had then called for backup. When help arrived, the officers found the armed suspect standing over the sergeant. He fled in the sergeant's police car. The chase came to an end about a mile and a half away when the man drove the police car into a tree, and that's when he began shooting at police. Police responded with bullets of their own, and they shot one man, that man dead. And this is how one witness summed it all up.
And I heard shots, and I saw him fall to the ground.
and they yelled to him to stay down, and basically that's what developed.
Now, the sergeant in question was flown to the Stony Brook Medical Center. He's said to be in good condition today with facial lacerations. We'll learn more this afternoon when Suffolk County Police hold a press conference at 2 o'clock, and we'll have the latest for you on the 10 o'clock news tonight. That's the latest from Hop Hog this afternoon. I'm Leslie Roberts, Fox News.
Also on Long Island, the suspect in a train hostage crisis claims a TV show inspired the rampage. 34-year-old Anthony Norman, an unemployed father of 8, mentioned a TV show called Renegade in statements to police. The Brentwood, Long Island man is accused of robbing a bank, then briefly holding an LIRR passenger hostage before police apprehended him.
A well-known literary biographer.
Hanrahan Nancy Liu is off today. Police say it was a wild chase last night as they went after a man on a crime spree. It ended in gunfire, and police are working on the circumstances this noon. NJ Burkett is in Stony Brook with the details for us live. NJ?
Rob, University Medical Center, Stony Brook, Long Island. A Suffolk County Police sergeant is being treated here for facial cuts and bruises. A robbery suspect is dead. It all happened after a chase through 2 Long Island villages last night. Now, more than 12 hours later, there are still a number of unanswered questions.
The high-speed chase ended in a residential neighborhood in Smithtown, Long Island, where the robbery suspect was shot to death by a Suffolk County police officer.
He didn't look like he was giving up or he had no hands up in the air. He looked like he was running towards them, and you couldn't see if he had a weapon or not.
It began at 9:15 last night. A police sergeant stopped this black van because the driver fit the description of a robbery suspect. It happened at this intersection in Hauppauge. There was a struggle, perhaps even a fist fight. The sergeant suffered facial cuts and bruises, and the suspect managed to get away in the sergeant's patrol car. The runaway suspect led backup units on a wild chase down a 2-lane road. Minutes later, he crashed the patrol car into a tree and was shot by at least one of the arriving officers as he climbed out of the car. Eyewitnesses reported hearing up to half a dozen shots.
I heard about 6 shots, 3 quick ones and then 3 staggered ones, but all in the same time period, about a minute apart.
2 other officers suffered what have been described as minor injuries after they collided with a civilian motorist on their way to the crime scene. Police have refused to identify anybody involved, and sources are now telling Eyewitness News that the suspect may well have stolen the sergeant's service weapon before he got involved in that high-speed chase. For now, we're live at University Medical Center, Stony Brook, Long Island. NJ Burkett, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, NJ.
Michael, thank you. A wild car chase and shootout on Long Island has ended with a suspect dead and a police officer injured. It happened in Smithtown last night. Police say the suspect stole a car in Amityville, robbed a business in Hauppauge, and then fired shots at police and attacked an officer. That's when officers shot and killed him.
Approximately about 9:30, 20 to 9, I heard about 6 shots. 3 quick ones and then 3 staggered ones, but all in the same time period, about a minute apart.
The police sergeant was taken to University Medical Center in Stony Brook for treatment of lacerations and bruises. A former Nassau County Police
$1,000 in fines have been dropped.
We have a breaking story still developing. A Suffolk County Police sergeant is fighting for his life tonight after being shot in the head in Smithtown, Long Island. This happened at Veterans Highway and Old Willets Path. The on-duty officer was rushed to Stony Brook University Medical Center, where he is being treated for his wounds. We have a suspect who has reportedly been shot. We have no more details about the incident, pending more information from Suffolk County Police.
A Kansas man who began
inside an old hangar is anyone's guess. An alert security guard called 911, and almost the entire fire department came out in force. Well, it took 45 minutes to get him out using ladders and a basket. The dog suffered injuries to his hind legs. He is being treated at the Babylon ASPCA. They say he's going to be just fine. And as if this story couldn't get any better, well, one of the rescuers is going to adopt this scrappy pooch and plans to call him what else but Lucky.
Clumsy might be another choice. Well, county detectives have arrested a man they think committed over 50 burglaries in the area in the last 6 months. Cops say 45-year-old William Ross was picked up early today on an unrelated larceny charge. But when detectives asked him about the rash of burglaries, Ross led them to a warehouse full of over $50,000 worth of lawnmowers, trimmers, and other landscaping equipment. Detective Lieutenant Dennis Kane says Ross was trying to feed a drug habit.
What he was doing essentially is he has a crack habit to the tune of about $200 a day. He was bartering these tools to the individual who lived in that home for crack.
Police say because of the number of things stolen, there must have been other people involved in these burglaries, and they're keeping that investigation open.
Has made their getaway. A big bust in Patchogue. Suffolk County cops say they recovered quite a bit of loot. Among the items, $50,000 worth of stolen power tools and bicycles. They say a man trying to support a $200 a day crack habit had broken into more than 50 homes. He was arrested after police say he was caught stealing fuel oil from a vacant house. Easy pass. Thanks, Joe. We have breaking news from Suffolk County at this hour. In Hauppauge, a police sergeant has been injured. We don't know how he was injured, but we do know a suspect has been shot and killed. Some sort of incident happened about an hour ago. This video is just into us from Long Island. Police are refusing to give out any other details of the incident except to say the officer has been taken to the hospital, and witnesses in the area say they have heard gunshots, about 6 of them, within the last hour. Coming up next on UPN, that wild police shooting in Suffolk County. We first brought you the breaking news last night. Cops now say a man was shot and killed by police in Smithtown after a chase. Police pulled the guy over because they believed he was driving a stolen car. The man allegedly struggled with an officer, then fled in the officer's car. Police say the suspect crashed the car and was shot as he tried to lunge at another cop. Police in Queens say a family slammed into a car on Long Island. Cops say the driver of the car was trying to make a turn and was struck by the truck. The driver and a passenger were killed. Police say the impact sent the car back through